All right, welcome. We're starting a new game today. We're looking at Evil Clutches. And what we're doing here is we've opened up a new game, and we're trying to go get our first sprite. Here's our first sprite 0. This is going to be our background. So we go to our classes folder, which is your S drive. And then we go to Game Design 1. And here's Evil Clutches. You want to open up that folder. And then all of our resources, these are like music files and picture files. If you actually want to see them, you can go here under View and say Medium Icon so you can actually see the pictures. So here's all the pictures you could use, all the different sprites you could use for this game. And the one we want to grab is this one here. This is the Mother Dragon here. That's the one we want to make. Oh, no, we want to make our background first. So let's grab our background here. So let's do the background first. Okay, so that's our background. It's just cave. And we'll say open. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so there's our cave. It's kind of dark. Looks kind of spooky. We'll give our sprite a name. We'll call it just sprite background. Okay. And it's pretty big. It's 640 by 480. Okay, so here's our background. Okay. We've given it a name, so I'm just going to say enter. It changes the name over here. We want to use this background as the background for our room. So we go over here to background. We choose the background layer. These are where the layers are. So choose the layer. And then here you can set which sprite you want to use for the background. So here we say, I want sprite background. But you notice as soon as you put it in the room that it's not quite right. It's too small for our room. So how do we fix that? Well, we could tile it, but that doesn't work with this picture. It would be better to stretch it. Now you've got to be careful here, because if you stretch too small of a picture, it gets really pixelated. But here, it's not so bad. Okay, so we just stretched it so it fits the size of the room. So now we have this cave. Okay, so that's our background. That's where the game takes place, is here in our cave. Okay. Well, that's cool. That was easy. But now let's put our first object into the game. And this will be the Mother Dragon, like I said. So make sure you switch to your instances layer. That's super important right here. Instances layer. Now remember, instance is the same word for object. They're synonymous. So when I say instances, I mean this is where we put our objects. We don't have an object yet because we don't have a sprite for it yet. So let's start with the sprite. So we right-click on sprites. Then we say create sprite. We're creating a new sprite. And here we're going to import once again. So we say import. Yeah, it does that. It'll calm down in a second. Okay, so this time we actually are going to pick the dragon. This is the Mother Dragon. Okay. And this sprite is actually an animated sprite. This is our first animated sprite. So let's see how it animates. Okay, see how it has all these different frames in it? It's really not that much of an animation. If we actually play the animation, let's set the animation speed to 15. That's the speed of the animation. So 15 frames per second. And we play it, we can see that all that really happens is the wings flap. Okay. Okay. The wings are flapping. Makes it look like it's alive, kind of. Okay. Wings are flapping. It gets annoying after a while, so you can shut that off. Okay. How do we get here? So let's go back then. We'll take a step backwards. So I went and created a new sprite. So I right-click here on sprites. I say create. Right? Create sprite. And then and that gives it. And then we go over here to import. Import. And once we click on import, then we go to our S drive. And we go into the Game Design 1 folder, evil clutches, resources, and grab the dragon picture. Okay. Okay, so we've done all that. Once we select it, then that's what it uses here. Let's give our sprite a name now. We'll call it Sprite Dragon. That's a good name. Okay. This is a pretty big sprite. It's 135 pixels by 150, so pretty large. Let's give it a name, Sprite Dragon. I did that. See, I changed the name up here. It changes it over here. So how do we get this dragon in the room? And the answer is we can't right now because this isn't an object. Objects are the only things that can do things in Game Maker. Sprites are just pictures that are on top of your objects. So we have to make an object out of this. So right-click on Object and say Create Object. Okay. And our naming convention, we're going to go with obj underscore. We're going to call this dragon. Okay. Don't just call it dragon, because if you call it a sprite dragon and you call the object dragon, it's going to get all confused and then the game won't work. It'll crash every time you try to run it. So make sure you put the little prefixes on it, obj underscore dragon. If you get a capital O, change the capital O to a lowercase o, because these should all be lowercase. And then we've got our object now. We can assign that sprite that we just created to it. So there's our sprite. So that's how you use these pictures, is you've got to put them on objects. You can't just put the sprite in the room. You have to put the sprite on the object, and then the object is what you put in the room. Okay, for now that's good. And now we can actually put our dragon in our room. Okay, so I'm going to take the dragon, not the sprite, but the object dragon, and I'll drag it over here. Okay. And then I'm going to run our game to see if it works. Yep, that's our game. Wow. Super exciting. Wow, I just feel the thrill of playing this game. No. Okay, so not much of a game yet, but we do have an animation. We got this annoying blue box around our dragon, though. That's annoying. And the other thing is we can't control the dragon. I'm pressing keys, nothing's happening. This game is boring. I want my money back. Okay. So how do we make it more interesting? Let's take a look. Well, first of all, we got to take care of this blue box. That looks awful. So what we have to do, and it's a little bit complicated, we go back to our sprite. So I open up the sprite, and what we have to do is remove this one color. So we go, and we're actually going to edit the image. So we click on this button, we go back to the sprite, and we say Edit Image. And what we want to do is I would click on this first frame to select it, and then hold down your Shift key and click on the last frame to select it, so that you have all the frames selected. And then once you do that, grab this tool here. It says Color Removal Tool, but again, this software comes from England, so they spell everything wrong. So here's, yeah. Yeah. It's not, oh, it is running. It's just not doing anything. Actually, you just have to turn the animation speed up on the sprite. Oh, it doesn't open? Okay, I'll come over. Okay, so here's you choose the color removal tool and then click on this color. We want to make that transparent so that what's behind it will show through. See that? And it did it for all of them because we had all of them open. Okay. Now, anytime you're in an editor and you're doing graphics and stuff, if you want to show that the surrounding color is transparent, they always use like a checkerboard background, so that you see that's not normal. It's not a color. It's not really a checkerboard. It's supposed to be transparent. That's how they show the transparent color in almost all editing, graphics editing type things. Okay, so we have this image now. We've edited it. We don't really have to save it, but if we go run the game again, we'll note that our big blue box is no longer there, and what's behind the dragon shows through. See that? That looks much better. Okay. Okay. So we're going to pause here for a second. All right. So our next test then is how do we get this character moving based on our keystrokes? Okay. So let's look at that. In order to capture the keystroke events, you have to go back to the object. So this isn't the object, this is the sprite. So we have to go over here and say object dragon. Now remember, everything in GameMaker runs on events. This is an event-driven programming environment. So what event do we want to capture? And the answer is, well, we want to capture the arrow keys. Now I recognize that some people can't actually make things move with their right hand, because they always play with their mouse in the right hand, and they use the ASDF keys or WASD keys for their direction. So if you're one of those people, you can choose, the W key instead of the up key. But what I usually use is the I want to do the key down event. This kind of fun. When you press the key down, this one will repeat over and over, and then you say up. Okay, so key down, up. That's a little bit weird. But when they hit the up key, or the up arrow, what do we want it to do? Well, we want it to move, right? We want to move up, I guess. So here you could say, move. Here's the movement one. So we'll say set move direction fixed. Okay, so it's a little bit different than what we did the other day. And you want to choose up. Okay, clearly we want to go up. But we also have to set a speed. How fast do we want to go up? And a good speed is, I think for this game, is 8. Although I could be wrong. Okay, so what are we saying? What object are we on? Okay, we're on the dragon object. When the user presses the up key, the dragon object, what will it do? It will go up at a speed of 8. Okay, so let's try that. I always like to try it right after I code it, just to see if it works. So here it's not moving, and then I hear up, and oh, well, that's not exactly what I wanted, but it did go up, right? It's upward. Problem is when I let go of the key, it didn't stop. It just kept going up. So how do we get it to stop when we're not pressing the key? Well, one way to do it, and this isn't a great way, but we're going to do it anyway. There's better ways to do this, but it's more complicated. We can add an event, a key down event, and this is the no key event. What happens when there isn't a key being pressed down? Okay, so we're just adding the no key event. There is no key on your keyboard. You can't find it. It's not there. Okay, so no key. What do we want it to do? Well, we just want it to stop. So we can set the speed to 0, and that would pretty much stop it, right? So just set the speed to 0 when they don't hit any key at all. When there's no keys being pressed, it'll execute this event handler, and then it will stop. It will stop it from moving. Let's see if that works. So I go up. Yeah, as soon as I let go, it stops. That's good. But once I get off screen, I can't go down because I haven't given us a way to go down yet. Okay? All right, so how do we make it go down? Well, it's very much like going up, right? In fact, we can duplicate this if we want. You can just say right-click here and say duplicate. And it will keep all the same commands, but we just have to tell it we want to switch to the down arrow rather than the up. So it makes a duplicate of the up, but again, we want to go the other direction. So instead of going up, we want to go down. Okay. So now we should be able to go up and down. And this is how we're going to catch our babies as they come across the screen, is we're going to try to get in front of them and collide with them. But now we can control this character pretty well. We can go up and down. Ooh, look at that. To me, that's really cool. First time you code something and you can actually control that thing on the screen just by hitting some keys. That's really neat. Okay, so we've got this mother dragon now ready to catch babies. Okay, but now we have to. The babies have to spawn from somewhere, and what's kind of weird about this game is the babies all spawn from the evil boss monster. Okay. All right, so how do we create the evil boss monster, I guess? I guess we start with the sprite. Now, anytime we need to create an object and it's visual, then you need to create a sprite for it first. So here I'm creating a sprite. I want to call this one sprite, we'll call him, what did I call him in the videos? I think I call him boss. It sounds like a boss monster, but you can't really damage him, so it's kind of weird. And here we say import again, and the boss monster is this one, boss. But it has the same problem that the mother dragon had, and that has this box around it, right? It only has 4 sprites. Do set the animation speed to 15, just like the mother dragon. But again, we have a problem here because we've got this big kind of reddish colored box around it. So we have to edit it just like we did the mother dragon. Again, just click on one of the frames above and then hold down your shift key and click on the last frame. That will select all of them. And then you want to get this color remove tool and click on this background color. And now we have transparent. It didn't quite work though. See on these two frames, it didn't quite work. What must have happened there is this color isn't the same all the way through on these ones. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't work. But you can do them individually as well. So I'm just doing that individually. Maybe it was a different color. If I play this animation, you can see that the only thing that moves is the wings, right? Okay, so there's our boss monster. And now that we have the sprite, what we can do is we can put it on an object now. So we have to create a boss object monster. So let's do that. So I'm going to right click on objects. I say create object. And we're going to call this obj_boss. And we'll choose our boss sprite. Now that we have a boss object, we can put that in our room. So let's do that. So we go to our room, and we drag on our boss. Oh, that's the sprite. Don't grab the sprite. You want to grab the boss, the object. Okay, so here's my boss, okay? So they're facing each other, and again, the babies are going to spawn from this monster. But we want this monster to move up and down, okay? So basically the behavior is we want the monster to move up until it gets to the top of the screen, and then once it hits the top of the screen, we want it to bounce, or we want it to go the other way, not really bounce. You'd think you'd have to put a wall there to make it know that it's going outside the room, but you really don't. You can check to see where it is in the room at any time. So, so I go back to object boss now, and we're going to add an event here. And this first event we're going to add is the create event. What happens when the boss first gets created? Okay. So when that boss first gets created, what do we want it to do? Well, we want it to move either up or down. So actually, the one we want is the random one. So we could say direction. So set a random direction. And we're going to say either up or down. We also might want to randomize it if we remember we had that problem last time where if you don't randomize it, we'll always go the same direction when the game starts. So we might want to randomize it. So we'll do that too. So just type in random and then grab this randomize. Put that on top. So the first thing we're going to do when the boss is created is we're going to randomize the random number generator, and then it's going to choose between up or down. We still haven't set a speed though, so we have to set the speed. So here's our speed. Set speed. And we'll set our speed to 8, just like the mother dragon. But you'll note when we play the game, there's a problem. Okay, what's the problem? Well, it just goes off the screen and then it goes away forever. Okay, so that doesn't quite work. We want the boss to stay inside the room. Right now he's just flying outside the room. Okay. So how do we keep that boss in the room? Yeah, what we could do is we could put a wall and just make him bounce off the wall, but I'm trying to avoid making a wall. So one way you could do it is you could go back to the boss, and we can say this. There's an event. It's kind of a special one. You click Add Event, go to Other, and the one you want is Outside Room. Okay. So when the boss monster goes outside the room, well, what do we want it to do? Well, we want it to reverse its vertical direction. So you would say reverse, I guess. Yeah, reverse. See this one called reverse? Yeah. And we want to do it for vertical, right? Because if he's going up, we want it to go down, and if he's going down, we want it to go up. If the sprite goes outside the room. Okay, so let's see if that works. And what you might see, I'm not sure if this is kind of funny, the next thing that happens, is you go, oh, now it works. Okay, so now, boy, that's fast. Ooh, what's wrong? Oh, it goes outside the room, but does it go over the bottom of the room? I don't wonder if I can resize this. Yeah. Oh, that doesn't work like it did before. That's problematic. Okay. Is it completely going out of the room? I think on the bottom it's not, but our room is so big. I'm going to make our room smaller. It's really too big anyway. So we're going to change this to 640 by 480. Ooh, that's tiny. Okay. So notice our room got really squashed when we did that. 640 by 480. Yikes, that's really small. So we're going to have to drag this guy over here. Okay. So our room is much smaller now. But at least now we'll see whether the dragon bounces off the bottom. He goes completely off screen. Oh, and off screen again. Oh, this does not work the way I thought. Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, that's the one. I'm using the wrong event. Interesting. Okay, so we go here to Object Boss. Here I said outside room. But it's only being triggered when the origin goes outside the room. We want to trigger when it intersects the boundary. Any part of the dragon or the boss intersects the room. So we're going to change this event. We're going to change the event. Instead of outside room, we're going to say intersect boundary. Okay? So anytime it intersects the boundary, we're going to reverse our vertical direction. But then you get something weird that happens, I think. Check this out. This is funny. What's going on here? Anybody know? Yeah, I'm too close to the edge. See? And so the poor boss is spazzing out and going up and down because he's outside the room right now. Or he's intersected the boundary, right? You can, but it makes the game really easy to play. So the size of your background, the size of your room determines how hard this game is. I would say you could hold off on that until we get more objects in the game, and then you can decide as the game maker. Okay, so basically this is just really spazzing out and going up and down so fast you can barely see it, okay? It's because he's already intersecting the boundary because of where he's placed in the room. See, I put him way too close to the edge, okay? See, his elbow is sticking out or something. I'm not sure exactly what. But he is intersecting the boundary. So how do I move this? Well, I don't want him to, I could just drag him one square over, but this room is so small, I don't want to do that. I'm thinking I shut the grid off, and then I can move him just a little bit, okay? And then you can turn the grid back on. But now he's far enough away from the edge that he's not going to trigger that event that says, hey, I'm intersecting the boundary, okay? So all I did was shut the grid off, scoot him over a little bit, and then turn the grid back on. It's just click on this button, it shuts it off, okay? And you can drag it a little bit to the left, and then he's not going to wiggle up and down so fast. Oh, that's better. Ooh, that's too fast, though. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of, for me, that's too fast. So how do I slow him down? Well, we set the speed in the create event, right? In this create event for the boss, and the speed's too fast. So I'm going to change it to 4. Okay? Let's see if that looks better. That's better, yeah. Okay. So it's doing pretty good. As soon as it intersects the boundary, it changes direction, keeps it in the room. We don't have to put walls in. That's nice. Okay. And then we have this. And that can go pretty fast. Yeah, it would be nice to keep the dragon in the room. I'm going to hesitate on that just a little bit because it's really hard if the dragon has to stay in the room to avoid some of the demons coming at you. So, but we've got now these two characters kind of working, right? So what's next? Well, what we could do is do the happy part first, which is saving babies, right? Saving babies is good. You want to save babies. I have a friend, his name's Greg. When he was in school, he was one of the smartest kids in class, and then later on in life, he came to visit me a couple of years ago. I hadn't seen him for like 20 years, and I say, well, Greg, what are you doing now? And he told me, and I said, well, Greg, I'm really disappointed. You were the smartest kid in class. I thought you would do something with your life. And he said, but then I said, but Greg, you're just a pediatric cardiologist. I'm really disappointed. So, yeah. So here's a guy who actually does save babies every day. How do you compete against that? I teach high school. You can't compete. It's not possible. Yeah, so that's my friend Greg. Okay, so here we go. We've got our mommy dragon. We want to be able to catch babies, okay? So how do we, and I put this in quotes, how do we spawn babies? Okay, it's in quotes. I don't want an answer. Okay. How do you do that? Well, we first have to create the babies, I guess. My wife's a health teacher, so she talks about that topic quite often. But not me. I get embarrassed too easily. So I say create sprite, and we're going to create our baby sprite now. So let's give it a name first, just get in that habit. We'll call it sprite baby. So this is the baby dragon, and we're going to import we've got a few choices here. We've got, well, that's our logo. So I wouldn't use that one, but here's the normal baby sprite, but here's a boy baby, and if you want a girl baby, there's a girl baby, and then there's an evil baby as a demon that looks like a baby, but it's not. But let's just go with baby right now. You can choose any of the nice ones, not the evil ones. Okay. So I'm going to just choose baby. And these babies are really cute. Babies are cute, right? And again, we have to, the only thing difference between these two frames is the wings again. I think these look like ears, but they're wings. And then, just like before, we want to edit the image and take away the background. So I'm just taking away that background color. Here I'm doing the frames separately because there's only two. Okay. So now our baby is transparent, at least around the edges. Now that we have a sprite, though, we can now create an object to do that. So now we create object. You do this enough, and then you don't have to think about it. It's always the same pattern. You create the sprite, you create the object. Here's object baby. And again, we're going to we're going to use the baby sprite for that, okay? So now we have our baby. Now, the question is, how does this baby get spawned? Well, it comes out of the boss, right? So, I guess we have to put this code in the boss. So let's do that. Here's our boss. So I open up the boss object, and we're going to put a kind of a weird event in here. This one's called the step event. Okay, so we say step. Well, what is a step event? Well, the step event is like a frame. Every frame is a step. It's the next step in your animation, right? So we use the step event. Well, what should happen every step? Well, we want to spawn babies, I guess. So how do you do that? Yeah. So I'm not going to go into the details of how you create babies, but this is how you create them in game design, at least. Okay, so here's create instance. Here's our baby. We're in the boss monster, right? We're in the step event of the boss. So we want to make the baby spawn relative to the position of the boss. We don't just want some random position. We want the babies to come from the boss. Okay. Okay. And so when we run this, you might be surprised what happens. There's a lot of babies there. Okay, so that's a lot of babies, and even worse, the babies aren't moving, right? We have to get the baby moving. Yeah. Okay, so let's fix the non-moving baby problem. Okay, so here's the baby again. We want to add a create event to the baby, and then when the baby gets created, we just want to get it moving across screen. So I think this is our speed 8. So first we want to set our direction. So we say direction, or this one, and we want to go that way. Okay, so it's going out of the boss towards the mommy dragon. It's a baby. And then we have to also set its speed. Okay? Speed. Okay? There's our speed. And we're going to say 8. Yeah, they come across fast. So here's this baby. And it'll go 8. But we still have our problem. We're spawning way too many babies. Oh no. I know what's happening next. Baby spawning, yes. Okay. That's a lot of babies. And the problem is the poor computer has to keep track of all these babies. Even though they're not on screen, it's updating the position every frame. This line of babies. Okay. Okay, so this is not what we want, right? We need to control a couple things. One is we need to control how often the babies are spawned. And these should be relatively rare events, okay? Not every frame, right? So what do we do? Yeah, so what we have to do is inside the step event, before we create a baby, we got to roll the dice, okay? And then anytime the dice rolls a 1, then we want a baby to create. But if the dice roll doesn't generate a 1, then we don't want to create a baby. So what do? Well, here we say, again, random again. So we've already used random to kind of set the direction, but here we want to say random. Well, what's random? What's this one? Get random number. We're rolling the dice, basically. You want to put that first, okay? So how many sides do you want on this dice? And the answer is, well, we want 100 sides on this dice. I actually have 100-sided dice for Dungeons and Dragons. I do. Yeah, it works. It's like a big ball, but with faces on it. So you roll the dice, and we're going to store that in maybe we store it in a variable called spawn. And we'll say temporary. It's a temporary variable. We only have to do it here in this. We don't need it anywhere else but in here. So we roll the dice. We'll get a number between 0 and, well, 99. It's kind of weird. That's still 100 different numbers. But we only want to spawn a baby when we roll a 1. So this is where we have to ask our first question. And our question is if. Okay. So we say if variable, right? And we drag it down here on the bottom of the get random number. Well, what variable do we want to question? The one we want to question is the spawn variable. Okay. And we're trying to see if the spawn variable is equal to 1. Say we just happen to roll a 1 on this 100-sided dice. But only when we roll a 1 do we want to spawn a baby. So here, this is really important, this next part, is you want to drag this to the right of the if thing so that the if statement controls the creation of or spawning of the baby. Okay. You have to drag it to the right side, not underneath, because then it will keep spawning millions of babies. You want to make sure it's controlled by this. So you roll the dice, store that value, that random value, into spawn. If it just happens to equal 1, then spawn a baby. Okay. So let's see if that helps control our baby spawning. Okay, no babies yet. Where's the babies? Come on. 100-sided dice. Why isn't it spawning babies? By now it should have happened. What did I do wrong? We have no babies spawning. Okay, so let's check why. Oh, we said decimal. Yeah, it's supposed to be integer. Decimal will generate random numbers that have decimal points and things to the right of decimal points. And it's going to be super rare that you'll ever roll a 1. Integers actually are whole numbers, okay? They're like 1, 2, the counting numbers, right? They can be positive, they can be negative, they can be 0. But they can't have a decimal point. Okay, let's try it again. And it should happen more frequently now. Oh, there's a baby. Oh, that's too fast. Too fast. So every once in a while, there's a baby that gets spawned. See, there's babies being spawned, okay? That's not bad. Okay? We've got spawning babies, yay. Well, it's taking a while, though. Look at the time difference. 4 in a row, yeah. So it is kind of random, right? Okay. Okay, so we're spawning babies. That's good. All right. Next thing. Well, the evil things are the demons, right? And the demons spawn the same way, but they spawn a little bit more frequently. Or they should spawn a little bit more frequently. Okay? So our new object then we're going to create is the demon. Okay, so we're creating a new object. First we'll start with a new sprite, right, because it's new. And here we're going to call these guys demons. So SPR underscore demon. Okay, we've got this demon. And then we're going to import that sprite here. And the demon is, where's demon? This one. Okay. Demon. There's our demon sprite. And we have to do a couple things with it. Now be careful down in this window. If you accidentally click down this window, it's going to mess up this origin location. If I click here, see how it moved it? You don't want that. Okay. We want it top left right now at least. Okay, so be careful around this. You don't want to click on it like you would in the import window. But here you say edit, right? We have to go remove that background color. And again, I'm just clicking on the first frame, holding down shift, clicking on the last frame, using our color removal tool, and then I remove the color. Okay. So now the background is going to show through here. If we play this animation, well, we have to go back to the sprite. I forgot to set the frame rate to 15. It won't animate unless you do that. And then we can try it out, and it wiggles a little bit. You can see it wiggling. Okay. Okay, so that looks okay. So that's our demon. So now that we have the sprite, then we can create an object that uses that sprite. So we say create object. And we choose that. Okay. Make sure to give it a meaningful name. So obj underscore demon is a good name. However, this demon is going to, the way it's going to be spawned is a little bit different. It's not going to come just straight across. It can come at you at an angle. Okay. So let's try that. In the create event for the demon, right? It's getting spawned just like the baby. We're going to set the direction, but this time, well, not this one. We want the random one. Okay, so what's the random one? Let's see. It's not listed there. So here, type random again. Yeah, we want to go random direction. This one. And then we choose these three. Okay? So it's going to randomly choose one of these three directions. But we haven't set the speed yet, right? So we got to do that. And then here, we're going to make these go a little bit slower, say 4. Okay. Okay, so now that we got the demons moving in a direction, how do we create them? And the answer is the boss. Again, these demons, just like the babies, spawn from the boss. So we would do that in the step event. But again, we already have something in here. We're trying to control how often the babies get spawned. But we'll need to do the same thing for the demons. Okay. So let's do that first. Our first thing that we do is we get a random number. We say get. We type in random, I guess. So just like before, we're going to start with that, get a random number. We found that decimal is a bad idea. We want to switch that to integer. How often do we want this to happen? Well, 1 every 100 times or so is a little too infrequent, so maybe 1 out of 60 would be good. What are we going to call this variable? We'll call it daemon spawn or something, daemon spawn. And make sure it's temporary. We don't want to add that to the object. We just want it to be here in this one event handler. So daemon spawn. Are we supposed to spawn the daemon? Well, if we roll a 1, we can ask that question again. We can say if. So grab that if, and you want to drag it and put it on the bottom of that. You've rolled the number, right? What's our variable name? Well, we called it daemon underscore spawn. So we want to make sure we type that in there. Make sure you type it exactly the same, or the program may crash on you. So if the daemon spawn is equal to 1 again, we'll have 1 in 60 chance of that happening. Then what we want to do is we want to create an instance of the daemon, right? So create, and I'll drag that over here. Make sure you drag it to the right of the if statement, so that the right side highlights, so it's controlled by this if statement. What are we creating? Well, we're creating a daemon. We want to make it relative to the boss, just like we did before with the babies. And let's see if these daemons spawn correctly. There's daemons. Ooh, the daemons kind of just float outside the room because they're moving diagonally. They kind of can get outside the room. I think what we want is to have them, just like the boss monster, bounce off the top and the bottom. So let's add that to our daemon object. This ability to change vertical direction if it hits the top or the bottom of the screen. Well, we already know how to do that, right? But we have to go to the daemon to do that. So I'm going to choose our daemon object. Yeah. Okay. I'll wait then on this. Let me pause right here. The last thing we want to do is to make the daemons bounce off the top and the bottom. So we're just going to do the same thing we did with the boss monsters, with the demons. So here's the demons, and all we're doing is an intersect boundary. And just like we did with the boss, what do we want to do when we intersect the boundary? We want to reverse. I'm going to type in reverse. Reverse that one. Reverse, not our direction, but our vertical direction. We still want it to move horizontally the same, but we want it to switch. If it was going up, we want it to come down. And that will keep the demons in the room. But it does have one side effect that's kind of weird. Okay, so there's the demon. It bounces off the top and then bounces back in. But watch as the demons leave the room. They just kind of wiggle up and down. Kind of like what the boss was doing earlier. It's because it's outside the room, so it changes direction over and over again. But I think it makes it look kind of creepy, which is fine. They're demons. They're supposed to be creepy. Make it so that if the dragon collides with the demon, you lose the game. And we're going to add the ability to score points for catching babies, and then we're going to add a fireball so that we can destroy demons. But you have to be careful with your fireball because you'll destroy babies too if you're not careful. Okay, so that'll be next time.